What's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bang, coming to you live right here at Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Another episode of Rubbin' and Grubbin'. Rubbin' is racing, grubbin' is tasting. Man, I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. Got a lot of NASCAR news to go over. Great race there at Dover. That was probably one of the better races we had all season long. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. If you're new to tuning in, the way we like to start the show out was the word of the day. So basically, what it is every time I say this word during today's broadcast, I have no idea what it is. You're going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. I always like to say it's age appropriate. If you're under the age of 21, hey man, it's Wednesday, stay up late, get something to drink with some sugar in it, Kool-Aid, sweet tea, Red Bull, get something, man, get jacked up, stay up late, have a good time, man. So last week's word of the day was, I have no idea. I usually got a sheet up here that tells me. I don't know what it was. But this week's word of the day is going to be, every time I say it, take a sip of that favorite adult beverage, y'all. Oh, hold on. Incoming. I got the sheet coming in. Let's see what we got. All right. Last week's word of the day was Dover, which, seeing as how we raced there, I'm sure I said that quite a few times in that broadcast last week. So if you played along, probably had a pretty good little buzz, man. But getting right into that NASCAR news, if you tuned in, it wasn't on a Sunday, it was on a Monday. You know who won it, Mr. Martin Truex Jr. What's up, fellas? And hey, Martin right there, man. I think that was the third time he's won it on a Monday, but got the monkey off his back, if you will, and finally got that breaking that winless streak, got that win there at Dover. Man, I tell you what, good performance there for that 19 team. Feel like they built some momentum as well, so be interesting to see what he can do with it. So, big news, man. Legacy Motor Club switching manufacturers. I tell you what, this is almost like sacrilegious for Jimmy Johnson and Richard Petty. Really should be. I mean, Petty raced quite a few different manufacturers throughout his day. But come on, man. Jimmy won 7 championships over there racing for Chevrolet, and now we want to swap it up and go to Toyota. I get it. You got to kind of change the vibe, man. Probably got a little bit more manufacturer money coming in, singing as hell. The only teams you got out there are Gibbs, and you got 2311 for the most part. So I'm sure that manufacturer money is going to pay good. 2024, we'll see. I mean, you don't want to stay in the same place that you've been. You always want to move forward, right? So I get it. Hopefully it pays off for him, but I tell you, man, it hurt my heart to see those bow ties going away from Legacy and going to those Toyotas, man. I can't believe it. Kyle Busch rags on Elliott a little bit before the race, man. Gave an interview there. It's pretty interesting leading up to it. Talked about Chase shaving his mustache. If you tuned in, you see the mustache has gone off Chase Elliott. And Kyle Busch had to drop a little words, talk about she didn't like it. Who? I don't know. I don't know who he's dating, what he's doing, but if she liked it or not, hey, man, happy wife, happy girl, happy life, right? At least that's what they say, man. I just, anyways, I ain't figured it out, but pretty good little banter back and forth there between a couple of NASCAR's champions. Think it's pretty good, to rag on each other in a playful way like that, man. So that was pretty cool, too. So speaking of 3 Chai Kai, man, happy birthday. That's all I got to say, man. You know he ain't my cup of tea. I ain't going to wish him a super happy one, man. But happy birthday, Kyle Busch. So, didn't mention it, but XRS continues to build, man. And this came out last week. They continue to build not only a lineup of drivers on the track, but guys in the booth. So, you got Matt Yoakum and you got Alan Bestwick. Alan Bestwick's going to be that lead announcer coming from the booth, and then Matt Yoakum on pit road. Joey Logano is going to be a lead analysis there for a few races. Let's see, you got Connor Daly going to do a few races as well, and then Jaws himself, Darrell Waltrip, man, going to do it. So I tell you what, I really like the direction SRX is going. I think they're adding a lot of talent, not only on the race, on the racetrack, but also in the booth, man. It's a pretty good show. They keep building it up year to year. So going to be interesting to watch. I think it kicks off in July. I definitely tuned in and watched a few of them last year. So pretty interesting racing, pretty good little different thing to watch if you're into some dirt, into some flat asphalt tracks. Really neat deal, man. So make sure you tune in and check out SRX as well. Pretty good deal there. So if you haven't yet, man, please go out, like, share, follow, all that social media out there. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. I think Lawrence even got us on the gram out there, which I don't mess with the gram, but he got us on the gram out there. But most of all, man, go out, subscribe to that YouTube channel. Like I say, I got a hood, a little mini hood to give away at 300. We're not far from it. Kevin Harvick helmet, that thing's going at 500 or at the end of the season, whichever happens first. Hopefully we hit 500, but we're going to get it going. So what the hell, man. You guys go out there, subscribe for sure, man. And like I said, the more eyes we get on the show, hopefully the more money we raise for those charitable events we do here at Coaches and Checkered Flag for charity. And ultimately, that's what it's all about, man. So make sure you definitely lock that in, brother. So, hey, look, Austin Dillon tried to appeal, or, got that penalty. They appealed it once. They ain't appealing it again, man. They upheld that penalty. 60 playoff driver owner points, and I think it's 5 or 10 playoff points, driver and ownership. So, and 75 grand, losing the crew chief 2 races. Look, man, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but when you're having the season Austin Dillon is, it's already kind of on the downward spiral. Definitely going to hurt to lose that crew chief, and definitely hurts to lose those points, man. So got to see how he rebounds. I mean, he's a fan of the show. He did a little cameo shout out a few seasons ago for us.
Rubbing is racing and grubbing is tasting.
I like him. I think he's cool, but look, man, at some point in time, if you don't show up, man, Grandpa going to pull the plug on that. So I feel like he's definitely got to get it going, headed in the right direction. Got to get some strong stuff going. If not, could be getting replaced here in the near future. I'll put it out there. I don't know what kind of deal he's got with Grandpa to stay in the seat, but race cars and 32nd in points ain't going to do it for you, man. So Darlington throwback schemes are out. They got some really badass schemes again this year, man. I tell you what, paying some homage to some great drivers. I know a couple drivers got some Dale Jarrett schemes. You got Ross Chastain, and you got somebody else running that, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I think, running the UPS schemes. Now, when it comes to Ross, man, you better hope that brown truck ain't on the track, because he's going to hit that damn thing just like he hits everybody else out there too, man. But at the end of the day, really neat ones out there. I think you got Dale Jr. scheme right there. Eric Amarola throwing it back to 01 with the baseball scheme there. Made that announcement last night. And Jeffrey Earnhardt, man. If you tune in the show, Zach Case, Jackman for Jeffrey Earnhardt. Jeffrey Earnhart's got a cool one, throwing it back to his grandfather's Wheatie scheme, man. So that's pretty cool. Bright orange out there. Gonna be an awesome, awesome deal, man. But my favorite of them all, you guys know me growing up as a Gordon fan, it's got to be that Chrome Illusion paint, throwing it back on that 24. Byron's going to be running, man. That is one of the coolest paint schemes of all time. I can't wait to see it out there at North Wilkesboro, or Darlington Throwback Weekend, excuse me. That's going to be an awesome deal there, man. So interested and ready. But if you haven't, make sure you go to NASCAR.com, check those out. You can Google them. They're coming up all over the internet, man. But some pretty bad schemes out there for sure. So, interesting comments from Brett Griffin on the Coca-Cola 600 qualifying, man. I'm pretty sure he, think part of Colleague racing a spotter for one of the Colleague cars. He went and saw the 4-wide race in there, and he brought up the idea of, hey, to throw a little flair into the Coca-Cola 600, why don't we drag race for starting positions, which to me is just a really silly, gimmicky thing to do with a NASCAR. That's just me, man. Not a fan of that idea. I mean, some people out there might like it. I mean, look, we're already having trouble enough and changing up the schedule and losing core fans. I feel like you start doing some more like circus type stuff like that, you're just going to lose more core fans that are really there to watch the racing. So qualifying Coca-Cola 600, do what you normally do, man, and run it like a true NASCAR race. That's just my feelings on it. But again, like I said, trying to find excitement in it, trying to find new things, put new eyes on the sport. I get it, but I don't think that's the right way to go about it, in my opinion. So got to give a big shout out to Ryan Truex as well, man. Came home family suite there at Dover. Got his first Xfinity Series wins there for the 19 of Joe Gibbs Racing. The one thing I will say is next time he wins, man, if he wins, he definitely got to get out of the car and not only thank the sponsors, but thank the man that gave him the ride. I don't think he did either two of those on Saturday, man. Super excited. I get it, kind of making the point saying, hey, I belong here. I can win in it. You did it in one of the, basically Xfinity top tier teams. I mean, you got, Junior Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing pretty much run that. Colleagues in there, here and there too, but they pretty much run that. So at the end of the day, man, you got to remember to thank those sponsors. That's what it's all about. Money makes this sport go around, and if you ain't got the sponsorship money and you ain't got guys buying into what you're selling, come on, man, it's going to be hard pressed to get it. So we'll see what he does, but again, big congrats to him. Good win for him. Glad to see him finally get that win there at Dover, a home track for the Truex brothers, and like I said, hit the family suite, man. Pretty neat deal. So more NASCAR news, man. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. Denny Hamlin's bracket. All right, so this is a really cool idea that he came up with, and he talked about it on his podcast and Dale Jr. Download. And they actually have a contest running right now. You can sign up and win some pretty cool stuff. I did. I filled one out. But it's basically a bracket that runs for 5 or 6 races. I think it's 5. Started out, I think Denny had 32 drivers. and it's basically bracketed up, you know, driver against driver at different tracks, and you get all the way down to a mid-season or a you know, champion of it. You throw in, I think it was $100,000 a team, comes out to like $3 million or something like that. Comes out pretty good. I mean, that's pretty legit. And basically, whoever wins it wins the money and bragging rights. I mean, if we're talking about ways to get more people involved in the sport, I definitely think this is one of the better ideas I've heard. I mean, I think it's really neat. You kind of compare, you know, match drivers up and compare, and definitely, you know, you got some guys and some underdogs that can make it. I mean, think about it. If you got a guy like, you know, a Chris Buescher going up a Kyle Larson, and something happens to Kyle Larson like that happened at Dover, Chris Buescher is going to advance in that bracket, right? And I mean, hey, if you play it right and that happens a couple times, I feel like you could possibly make it and win the money. So I think it's a really cool deal. I think it's something NASCAR should look into. I mean, we've done it. We do it in different series, basically, you know, Dash for Cash there in Xfinity Series. Truck Race does something kind of similar to that as well. So I think a bracket would be a great idea. I think Denny definitely hit it on the head. One, you're going to get people involved in the sport that are there just to gamble. Two, I think it definitely gives lower funded teams a chance and drivers to take some spotlight away from some of these top tier guys and superstars of the sport. So if you haven't yet, make sure you read up on it, check it out, fill up a bracket, because I'm telling you, it is awesome deal. I think that's a very smart thing that he did, and hopefully it takes foot and takes off, man. Hopefully NASCAR runs with it, whether it's during midsummer or whether it's earlier in the season, or they pick out 5 races to bracket them up and do it at. Whatever it may be, if they're spread out or all consecutive, however they do it. But I think NASCAR should definitely look into doing it and putting some money on the line and seeing who the best is for sure. So that's going to rack it up for the NASCAR news, man. But before we get into the next segment, I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. We're going to pause right here for station identification on Coach's Corner Sports Network. Cheers, y'all. So getting right into my favorite segment of the show, the checkered flag for charity, man. I tell you what, this is just an awesome deal. If you're new and you haven't watched the show before, we're doing it here for somebody local yet again this year. Miss Jamie Searhouse Monroe lost her husband, lost her mom in a very close proximity to each other, man. So we're raising money to help her out with finances and you know, just getting back right. So at the end of the day, man, if you don't know and you're new tuning in, whatever car number wins that race is what we donate in. 19 a Truex 1. Anything under the 20 of Christopher Bell is always a 20. That brings the grand total up to $2,011 that we've raised so far, man. That's a pretty awesome deal right there. You know, we kind of missed out on an opportunity here the last couple concerts. This last week, that was kind of my fault. I got caught up Wednesday. Lawrence had a wedding to attend, so we couldn't get here in time to really get that cooler set up. But we're going to have a couple more coming up. And like I said, later in the season, got some Braves tickets. We're going to have some Dogs tickets to give away. I mean, there's going to be some cool stuff we're giving away here to help her out and everything else. But again, all of that is possible from the sponsorship of my main sponsors here, Arbor Man, Lamar's Body Shop, Coach's Corner, East Coast Logistics, everybody that's involved in making the world go round here on Rubbing and Grubbing, man. So at the end of the day, got to give a big shout out to them. But look, I tell you all the time, man, if you come up to Coach's and you're here with the buddies having beers, you're here eating dinner, you want to donate in, hey, man, stop your waitress, stop your waiter, the bartender. Hell, if you see John and Adele Henderson walking by, tell them you want to donate into the Checkered Flag for charity. They're going to make sure it goes to the right place, man. And look, the more money we raise, the better off it is. And the best thing about it, man, is it all stays local, man. And like I say all the time, doesn't matter, nickels, penny, dime, 10, 20s, 150s, whatever it is you got to donate, throw it in, man. Get a good feel good. And like I said, all stays local right here in Savannah area, man. So there it is again, man, getting into it. My second favorite, the Who's Hot and Who's Not, sponsored by Arbor Man Tree Service. So got to give a big shout out to Parker Eccles. He's actually out here in the house, owner-operator over there at Arbor Man. You're going to see that number scrolling on the screen all night long. Like I said, taking care of all your tree service needs in Savannah and surrounding areas. So, hey, man, if you're unsure of what you need, give Parker a call. Be glad to come out and give you that estimate. Free tree removal, getting some limbs cut back, stump grinding, whatever it is and whatever it may be, man. Make sure you give them a call. Like I said, locally owned, insured. Man, give them a call over there at Arbor Man. You'll see that number scrolling. Let again, as I always like to say, no job too big, too small. Give Parker a call. Parker, love you, brother. Hey, so getting right into that who's hot and who's not, we're going to start it out with the who's hot, man. And we got a new number one taking over the list. And if we're talking about who's hot right now, It's going to be the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Oh, man, Lawrence is going to love it. The 12 of Ryan Blaney, the Ford, baby. Cuss word, we throwing $1 in there. I can't have the Fords. But, look, if you go back and look, man, 2 solid out of the last 3 races, finished outside the top 5 once. Got 2 runner-up finishes, or, second place at Talladega, 3rd this past week at Dover, and 7th there at the other one. So right now that 12 car is streaking, man, headed in, trying to, gain some momentum. I think he's got a good shot heading into Kansas. You'll have to stay tuned and see where I put him on that top 5 or if he makes that top 5. But right now, Ryan Blaney's got it going on, man. I tell you, there again, we're talking about consistency. We're talking about guys that show up in the last few weeks and they've been hot, right? I say it all the time. NASCAR is a streaky sport. It's racing, right? But it's a very streaky sport. So when you see that guy that's finishing 4th, finishing 5th, finishing 7th, week in and week out, it's only a matter of time before they get that win. And I tell you, the 12 is hunting. I mean, he's on a long winless streak as well, carrying in from last year, 58 races, 60 races. I don't know what it's at right now, but it's up there. And that's very odd for a young, talented guy like Ryan Blaney. So I think he's on the verge. Couple good tracks coming in. I think Kansas is a better shot for him than Darlington will be. But at the end of the day, like I said, Penske Fords have run good at Kansas. They've won at Kansas. I think they're, again, carrying that momentum, bringing fast race cars to the racetrack definitely pays dividends. And I think Ryan Blaney's on the verge of breaking that winless streak as well. So we'll stay tuned with me. We'll see if he comes out on top. We'll see if he does it this weekend or when he does it. But right now, 12 car on top, baby. Second, I hate to say it, but Ross Chastain makes the hot list. But it's not for his finishes, right? It's not going to be for the finishes. It's for his lack of respect and just lack of driving etiquette on the track, man. He's got everybody hot at him. He's got everybody pissed. I'm telling you, I said it last week. If you follow me on social media, I said it last week, man. The pace car better not pull out in front of Ross Chastain because he's going to hit that MF or 2 because he hits everything else, man. Look, I don't know what it is. Numerous drivers have talked about it. If we go through a list of drivers he's had contact with over the last couple seasons, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., his teammate, all right, Daniel Suarez earlier in the season, diving, being aggressive, Brendan Poole, Chase Elliott a little bit there at Phoenix last year. I mean, that was kind of Chase Elliott's fault. I'll give him that. But at the end of the day, he's still there. He's just got to learn, and I get it. I'm not going to disrespect Ross Chastain in a way because the man paid his ends in the sport, right? He started at the bottom. He worked really, really, really hard to get to where he's at. And, Justin Marks stands behind him, which I love as a driver ownership. He says, no matter what you do, this is your ride. I got your back, right? But at some point in time, it comes down to just having to pay the piper. And I feel like in today's sport with the young drivers that we have, respect isn't given. We're going to talk about a little bit more of this later on in the show. I got it saved. I got a rant saved. But right now, Ross Chastain is on that hot list for just running over everybody on the track, man. So William Byron and Kyle Larson are neck and neck for the 3rd spot, if you ask me. Both these Hendrick drivers are having amazing seasons. They both got 2 wins. I tell you, William Byron has led a lot of laps. Kyle Larson has led a lot of laps. I think that Hendrick Motorsports in general, especially inside those 2 cars, are going to be really hard to beat this season. I mean, those guys are on it. I feel like Kyle Larson is almost on a repeat of the 2021 championship run that we saw him do. I think he had 7, 8, 9 wins that season, 9, 10 wins. I mean, something crazy, man. But at the end of the day, fast race cars every week off the hauler, really good guys on top of the box. I mean, Rudy Fugle and Cliff Daniels, 2 of the brighter minds, and they're at Hendrick. I mean, they got really good equipment. So it's not like they're going to falter. It's not like they're going to fall off a cliff and just all of a sudden, be a rock out on the racetrack. I mean, they're going to bring fast cars week in and week out. And I think when you have 2 young, talented drivers that come from 2 totally different spectrums of racing, it just speaks for volume what Hendrick Motorsports has over there in that stable. So big kudos to both those drivers. They make the hot list as well as Hendrick Motorsports, man. So getting into the not list, and I hate to say this, man, Austin Dillon, number 1 on that not list. And I think he was a couple weeks ago or maybe even last week, but it's not going to change for him. I mean, like I said, we've seen what Kyle Busch is able to do, go out and get a couple wins there for RCR. They're sharing information. That, Grandpa, Richard Childress wants to see the 3 back in victory lane sooner than later. He wants to see the 3 contending for wins week in and week out. I mean, it's a historic number. It's pretty much what made his bread and butter over there at RCR as 7-time champion Dale Earnhardt Sr., right? So you want to see the 3. I think NASCAR needs the 3 to win. I think they need the 3 to be consistent every week. I think you're going to gain back a lot of fans, honestly. If the 3 starts winning week in and week out or contending week in and week out, I think senior fans are going to come out the woodwork that have been irrelevant in the last few seasons and jump back in that 3 bandwagon. So it's just they're not fast. Dover, again, was another case of just not being fast. I mean, he wrecked it in practice, had to start at the rear and stayed there. I don't know how many laps down he finished. I mean, a lot of guys were laps down, but at the end of the day, just not fast off the trailer. So they're missing setups bad. And they really got to get on that if they want to save the season. Not only, bringing fast race cars and maybe winning a race or 2, but digging yourself out of the points battle. Even if you make the playoffs, you're losing playoff points starting off the bat, and we know how valuable it can come down to 1 point on those cutoff races. So not taking anything away from him. I really enjoy Austin. I think he's a good personality. He speaks highly of the sport. He carries the sport very well. He carries himself and his sponsors very well. But I tell you what, when you're not winning, the phone starts getting picked up and those sponsors start going, man, I don't know, we might have to find somebody new. And I know that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for Grandpa if he has to do it, right? If you got to cut ties with him, it's going to be tough to do. I mean, that's your grandkid, but it's a business. And at the end of the day, sponsorship want to see their cars out front contending for wins, especially major sponsors like he carries on that car. So when you're pumping 20 plus, 15 plus $1 million in to have your brand on the side of a car, hopefully you see it in victory lane. So hopefully they get it together and start moving forward and bringing fast race cars and contending. I thought with the run at the Clash and getting a podium finish there, I thought we were going to see maybe some more speed out of them, but it hadn't built into anything yet this season. So we'll have to see, but hopefully he does, and hopefully we see that 3 car back up there running up front, man. So one of my favorite new up-and-coming guys is on the cold list too, and it's Noah the Problem Child Gregson. And I know, man, had a good run going at Talladega. Yeah, got the bowl cut, man, which is, you don't bet your buddies on haircuts, and that's why you don't do it right there, man. You end up with a freaking 90s Problem Child bowl cut. I mean, that was the Problem Child bowl cut, and it's fitting, right? I call him the Problem Child. I think I gave him that nickname up here too, so hopefully it sticks, right? I like his antics. I like his attitude. It's that pretty much I'm going out here to win races, and if you take me out and you got an issue, we're going to fight after the race, which I think is cool. I think NASCAR needs more personalities like that. So I get it, being a rookie, you got to go through the learning curves. He had some seat time and some other rides last season. I think it's going to take time for him to build up. You see what Ty Gibbs is doing. He's kind of laying low, not being too aggressive, and I'm going to say a lot better equipment than what they have over there at Legacy Motor Club right now at JGR. Definitely one of the top 3 tier teams. So I get it. But, man, I tell you, he's just got to figure out a way to finish inside that top 20. Talladega was not his doing. Well, I'll give it a 50-50. Ross made a move that was aggressive. He gave him the room. That was a little bit on the spotter for a little bit of delay reaction there coming down on him. But I tell you, I think the kid's got a lot of talent. I think in the future as we move forward, you're going to see Noah Gregson become a name that's going to win some races, going to contend for some wins. And like I said, I really like the dude. I like his personality and how he carries himself. He's fun. He has a good time. He goes to the Waffle House after he wins. What more can you ask for, man, right, out of a NASCAR driver? So hopefully they get it headed there. I liked Eric Jones. Eric Jones seemed to have a pretty good run there at Talladega. Not too bad of a run here this past weekend. Not great at Dover, but we're getting into some tracks. I think that Eric Jones is definitely going to contend. Darlington to be one. We saw him win the Coca-Cola, or Southern 500 last year there. So he's got a knack for it. He always has. It kind of fits into his driving style. So hopefully they bring good pieces for both those guys there. And they have really good, solid runs here at Kansas and again at Darlington. But right now, Noah Gregson, that 42, on the not list, man. So before we get into the next segment, the recap of Dover, man, we're going to pause again for station identification. I got the sun on me. Look, man, we're almost floating right around 80 today. It's a nice breeze out here in the Sound Garden at Coaches. I will say that. It's a beautiful afternoon, but I got to get some water. So we're pausing for station identification right here at Coaches Corner Sports Network. Cheers, y'all. All right, man. So we're getting right into that Dover recap. And I'm going to start it out by saying this is one of the better races I saw all season long. I'm going to speak high about Dover. The track came in, we got cleaned off, green racetrack. I mean, concrete, 1 mile, unique in itself, high banked, aggressive. Man, this track is a tough racetrack. It really is. And I tell you what, it came in, it rubbered in good. We saw multiple grooves come in. We saw long run cars. We saw short run cars. We saw tire wear. We saw pit road become a problem, which it has one of the smallest, tightest pit roads on the circuit. everything you can ask for in a really good NASCAR race we saw. So everybody out there, a majority NASCAR next-gen fans, I like to call them, complaining about it being not that good of a race. This is one of the better races I've seen all season long. So hopefully we can put that product on at different short tracks we go to later on in the season, because that was a great product for NASCAR and a really, really good look for the sport for sure. But Martin Truex, man, breaks that winless streak, as I mentioned earlier. The driver of the 19 Joe Gibbs racing Toyota finally got back into victory lane, man. And I tell you, it's something that we don't talk about enough, how guys, when they get older in their career, it seems like they fall off a cliff. And we've seen it with some really good drivers. Jimmy Johnson is one that I'm going to throw a name out there, 7-time champion. Went winless in his last year there in the sport, man. Just was like up here winning races and championships and just went woof. Just gone like that. So it happens, and there's feelings I have about why it happens, but I thought it was going to happen to Martin Truex Jr., and he proved me wrong, man. He got back in victory lane. Thought it was going to happen to Harvick again last year, but he got back in victory lane too. So it's nice to see a resurgence of some guys that definitely paid their dues, and we're used to seeing dominating there through those mid-teens, 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe a little bit earlier than that. These guys were the big three, part of the big three. Harvick, Truex, Denny Hamlin, they were winning everything. So good to see. And I think when you speak about a guy that represents the sport well, Martin Truex is one that's done it his whole career. Just an awesome guy, awesome drive there. Looked like he was going to have a battle on his hands with the one. It didn't turn out that way. Kind of set sail and drove away. Did what he had to do on that late race restart, nailed it, and pulled out and got the lead, man, and set sail. So 24 of William Byron, like I said, looked to be really, really strong. Looked to be like Hendrick was just going to run away with it in that 24 car. Just fell off there towards the end of that third stage. I don't know if they made some adjustments that just didn't fit well, or maybe they just missed it on keeping up with the track. But I tell you, at the end of the day, 24 car led a lot of laps, man. They keep bringing them. He's going to get some more wins for sure. But congrats to Martin Truex, and a great long run car all day long, and glad to see him take that checkered flag for sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of Ross Chastain yet pissed off somebody else, man. Brendan Poole, kind of lap car, racing another lap car, the 3, and they were side by side going into a turn, and Chastain, there again, no etiquette, no respect, and no patience, put the bumper to him entering a turn at Dover, which is, you're pretty much asking for a wreck. And just kind of ruined a very small, underfunded team's day. I mean, who knows where he would have finished, probably laps down. Everybody else did. But at the end of the day, you just tore up a piece of equipment, man. These guys don't have the resources like a track house, like a big funded sponsorship team. So I hated to see it. But, it doesn't surprise me coming out of Ross Chastain. It really doesn't. And there again, it's just something I think he's got to learn, and he's going to have to learn it the hard way for sure. But we're going to talk about that just a little bit later on. But Ryan Blaney tried his damnedest to steal that win, man. And I tell you what, Bart had him in the racing league here, which is my dad, which I really thought, man, we had a shot right there, and that would have paid a little bit of money out. But did not. So at the end of the day, I'm really liking what Ryan Blaney is doing over there in Penske Ford in that 12, man. He was the class of Penske all day. Joey Logano had nothing all day long. That was probably the worst I've seen him run in the last 4 or 5 years without wrecking, and he finally did. But the 2-car Austin Cindric, same thing. I think they finished 14, 15, 16, 20-something laps down. I don't know where Logano finished, way back there. But he was the class of the field, and I know Penske will build off of it. That's good information and data to bring back to the race shop to compare to setups to the other 2 teams and where we were at, whether we were night and day off or whether it was something very small. But at the end of the day, a really good run for the 12 car. There again, on that late race restart, the 22 popped a tire or spun out or whatever happened to him, hit the wall, 13 to go. I think we had 9 to go by the time they got back green. And, man, Blaney ran it really hard. And I thought, man, if he could have got clear, maybe he could have put him in enough dirty air to hold him off. But I don't think there was any denying Truex. But good run there, brought it home third. And, man, like I said, just hunting for that win. And it's coming. Blaney is coming, brother. Just keep it up, man. So, again, all in all, I think one of the best races I've seen all season long, especially when we talk about mile and under tracks. Dover's kind of its own entity, similar to Phoenix. I mean, you can't really compare it to anywhere else. It's, just different. But great product put on by NASCAR and the teams there. Great race. A lot of passing back and forth, a lot of runs for the lead. You saw guys, longer run cars coming to the front. You saw guys on new tires coming to the front. Guys on old tires, 2 tires, holding off some guys with all 4. So I think it's just something, a good product put on by NASCAR and all the teams. So whatever they did there, hopefully it'll translate into Martinsville. Hopefully it'll translate into New Hampshire. Hopefully it'll translate into some of these shorter tracks where the racing has been a little lackluster, if you will. But all in all, great run there at Dover at the Monster Mile, and glad to see it happen there. It's one of my favorite races. I wish they raced there twice. I wish they put lights around it and have a night race at some point in time during the summer. That would be awesome. But at the end of the day, they hadn't put that funding into it yet. But another idea, man. I'm gonna write a list on the hard right turn at some point. We're going to have a list of good ideas that come off of rubbing and grubbing that I think NASCAR should do for sure. So moving forward, getting into that Kansas preview, man, I tell you what, click those shoes together and get ready to go back to the land of Oz, man, because I tell you, this is an awesome track. I actually used to attend this track when they first built it in the early 2000s. I saw my man, Mr. Jeff Gordon, win that inaugural like he did on quite a few other racetracks they brought in. But I tell you, it's different now. They got progressive banking. It's wide, multi-groove. These guys use every inch of this racetrack to pass. You're going to see them 4 wide sometimes coming to that start-finish line using the apron, up high, down low, through the middle. They're going to be everywhere, man. So high-action racetrack, I really love it. It's one of the best mile-and-a-halfs out there. It kind of set a standard, I felt like, for progressive banking to be the new vibe on a lot of mile-and-a-halfs. I was hoping maybe that was kind of what they were going to do at Atlanta. They went a different direction and made it unique in its own. But I tell you what, Kansas is awesome. Keys to success there, you better have a good car that handles well. That upper groove is definitely going to come into play at some point in time in the race, so get ready for that. And, you know, pretty much the keys to every one. Clean pit stops. You have a penalty on pit road. Track position is hard, especially late in the second, early third stage. That's hard to come back from without caution. So mile-and-a-halfs have been pretty caution-free this season. We'll see what kind of tire compound they bring in. If it got some wear to it, I think we're going to see a really good race if it does. Weather forecast not looking too great. We still got some days till we get there. But, hey, they got lights at Kansas, man. We can see a day race turn into a night race, which is always fun. That always gets the fans excited, drivers ready to go. And it seems like it just brings a little more energy to the race itself. So we'll see what happens. 45 of Kurt Busch, man. This is where he got a win last year for 23-11 in that 45. And it was a Jordan paint scheme after a shoe. And that was an awesome win. So we'll see. Rumor has it maybe Kurt comes back and runs some races if he gets cleared in that third team for 23-11, which I think would be cool. But I tell you what, we're going to see who does it. Bubba won the fall race there, which you got to give him props for that as well. I think he had a top 10 finish in the spring. So who knows, man? He could be a dark horse out there. We'll have to wait and see. But I tell you what, getting into that top 5, man, number 1 on the list, Kyle Larson. As if it's any surprise, man. I tell you, the trend has been happening. That's it, man. The trend has been happening. And Lawrence said, man, on our money line, he goes, I almost put all the eggs in one basket and bet it all on Larson. And I said, well, I'm sure glad you didn't, man, because he got wiped out, and that would have cost us right there. But I tell you what, in that top 5, Larson, I think if the trend continues, he has something bad happen to him, he wins the next week. Happened to Bristol, won. It happens here, wins, right? So I think that Kansas is a really good spot, not only for him, just the shape of the racetrack and how multi-groove it is and that top line coming in, and we all know he's really good up there, but just HMS in general and fast race cars all year. I mean, they have been one of the fastest cars week in and week out when they unload, so I don't expect anything different. He comes in as the favorite betting odds-wise. I know that. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but to me, I think Kyle Larson is it's just that type of season for him. He's going to be fast. Whether he wins it or not, you've got to put him in that top 5, so he's number 1. Number 2, Denny Hamlin, and I know he hadn't quite had the success so far this season. We're used to seeing him, hadn't got that win yet. But I tell you what, finished 2nd or 3rd here last year, had a really good car. Kurt Busch, I don't remember if it was tire strategy or just a long-run car. Kurt Busch blew by both of them, Hamlin, and then turned around and blew by Kyle Larson or whoever it was right up there and got that win. But I tell you, I think this is a place. I want to say I don't know if he made his racing debut there. To be honest with you, but I've seen him race Kansas numerous times. I know he was very, very young when he got into the car and started racing Kansas. And I tell you, it seems like it's always been a place where he had some really good success there in the early career and throughout the career. So I expect the 11. This is more or less a fitting racetrack for a style. And there again, they've been on the hunt. They've got fast race cars at JGR over at Joe Gibbs Racing. So I'll put him number 2 on the list. Number 3, I talked about him earlier being on the hot list, taking over the number 1, man, and that's Ryan Blaney. I like Ryan Blaney for sure here at Kansas. Again, last 3 weeks, 2 top 5s and a top 7 finish. I've talked about it. Momentum is everything. Barring any wrecks early in the race, I think the 12 is going to be a contender when we get to Kansas. Penske has had success there. We've seen Logano win it. I think Brad Keselowski might have won it a time or 2. I'm not sure. I didn't really go back and look at any statistical information. But I know Logano off the top of the head has, and I know Penske has a few times. So looking at it, I got to take the 12 there in that 3rd spot. Again, momentum is everything. Going to see what he can do, but hopefully he has a good run and goes out there and gets that winless streak broke for the 12. 4 for me, the 8 of Kyle Busch. There again, Kansas winner before. Got really fast race cars, 2-time winner this season at RCR. That Chevrolet is going to be on the hunt for that 3rd win to be the first one to 3 this season. And I feel like Kyle has always ran Kansas well. Chase Elliott got him there in 17, I think, in the fall race in October. But it was coming down to a battle between those two, man. So always seems to come on late. He's getting a little double duty racing in the trucks as well, which always seem to help Kyle out when it comes to Cup Series. So we'll see what he can do, but expect the 8 to run very, very good again this weekend. 5, 24 car, William Byron. And you know I left my boy Chase Elliott off of it. It's hard for me to do, man, but a good racetrack, but I don't think he's just quite there. Now, he's going to prove me wrong and go out and win it, which maybe is just that motivation that I'm trying to give him. So, Chase, if you're watching, if you hear, go get it. But you didn't make the top 5. William Byron, man, just dominating. There again, they're hunting for the 24 car's 100th win. All right, and this is a big deal to a guy that I feel has a really big say-so behind the scenes on this 24 car, and probably half the reason you're seeing running them as well as they are, and that's Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon got 93 of those wins, all right, in that 24 car, man. I don't know how many Byron got. Evidently it's 6, so he's going for 100 there to make that 100 in the 24 car. And I tell you like this, man. If Chase Elliott would have stayed in the 24 car, I'd be pulling on a 24 all day long, but I made the jump to Chase Elliott when he went to the 24. I had to carry it over to the 9. Georgia boy, loves them Bulldogs. I mean, come on, you know, it's fitting, right? Second favorite driver, I got to pull for the 24, man. I was a 24 fan my whole life. The first race I went to till the last time, you know, the 24 was taken over by Chase Elliott. If it wasn't Elliott, I probably would have stayed with William Byron. So in my heart, deep down, I pull for Byron as well. Top 2 favorite guys out there. So Willie B, fast, 2 races. I think the combination of him and Rudy Fugle was amazing. I think that was a smart move by Hendrick, putting those 2 back together and picking him up. But I tell you what, fast race cars equal wins and checkered flags. So be on the lookout for the 24 this weekend at Kansas as well. Dark horses, I mentioned it earlier. I think Bubba Wallace has a really good shot to run really, really good. I think when you talk 1.5 miles, this is probably his best racetrack when you go back and look statistical over the past couple years. So I'll put him on the dark horse. Not too dark, but at the end of the day, the odds are looking good. We'll talk about that in a minute. 6 car, Brad Keselowski, another guy that seems to be fast week in and week out. Had some really bad pit stuff or strategy. I don't remember the pit penalty or what happened. Oh, tire got loose. That's what happened to him there this past weekend at Dover. And I tell you, it cost him a lot because in the stage 1, man, he was hunting. He was in the top 4, top 5, all that stage, and had a really fast car. Came back to get another good finish, I'm pretty sure, there at Dover. But at the end of the day, got to stay up there. Got to have that good track position, man, because if you don't, you can see what happens and you lose it. But dark horse, I'll take the 6. And why not go with the 45, right? He's been quiet for a few weeks. Been quiet since we've come out of, you know, that race there at Bristol Dirt. A little bit quieter on the side of it, not making much noise on the racetrack. But at the end of the day, I think it's awesome to see him, and I think it's going to be a really, really good run there for the 45 for sure. So be on the lookout for him. You can go a little bit deeper than that. Like I said, I think, you know, Eric Jones and I think Corey LaJoy are 2 guys that don't get the recognition they deserve. Really good runs, so be on the lookout for them as well. Speaking of horses, man, dude, we got the running of the roses, running for the roses this weekend. Kentucky Derby, baby, I tell you, I love all forms of racing. If you guys tune into the show, you guys know I love racing. I don't care if we're racing tricycles. I'm going to watch it. I guarantee you that. At the end of the day, I keep up with it. I start reading about February, who's going where, Trainers are obviously a big deal. Jockeys are a big deal. Who's on the horse? How they going to run the horse? What are the horse's tendencies? I started looking into this stuff, man. I grew up with my mom and dad going to derby parties here with some friends of my family that they have. Mark Klein, obviously love you, man. Don't know if you watch my show or not, but I'm throwing you a shout out there anyways. Got me into it. It was always something there kind of towards the end of the school year. You knew it was going to be an awesome Saturday over at their house. He always did pig roasts and barbecues, and a bunch of kids got together and just ran around and had a good time. So it was something that brings back childhood memories for me, and as an adult, I've just kept up with it. I've never missed one. I watch it every single year. But when we're talking horses, baby, I got some picks for them. Now, everybody knows the news that happened last year before. Medina Spirit, Bob Baffert got busted, cheating, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, yeah, whatever you want to call it, man. At the end of the day, I've always pulled, if there's a Bob Baffert horse in the field, I'm betting on a Bob Baffert horse, right? Todd Pletcher's got a horse that opens up as a favorite, Forte 3-1. He's got to be in that list too. So what I did is I picked, my picks of who I think's got a chance to win. And then I did a little trifecta, 3 horses exact pick. And then I did a little exacta 4-horse pick, right? So, like I said, it's a Bob Baffert horse. This is how it goes down. He had to surrender his horses by February 28th for them to qualify for the Derby. So he gave them to another trainer, okay, basically. He got rid of 10 horses out there so they're able to run. He's coming back, I think, for the Preakness right there, May 20th. He'll be able to come back to the track. He's banned from Churchill's Down this year. He will not be there, can't even be there in person, but his horse is. And the odds on this horse are awesome, right? Reincarnate, man. Reincarnate opens up as 50-1 odds, and it's a Bob Baffert horse, all right? And people are going to go, all right, well, he didn't train him. Well, I don't know if he trained him or not. He just can't be at Churchill Downs. He can't be in Kentucky. If I got that kind of money on a horse and you're looking for something crazy, I guarantee you Bob Baffert had a say of how this horse was trained, what he was fed. He probably did the same thing, the same system of what he does, right? So at the end of the day, he's got a pretty good jockey on the back of the horse as well. 50-1 odds. I'm taking that all day long. That is what I'm putting my money on. All eggs in one basket. If I got to pick one horse, it's that horse right there. Now, there again, you can't go against Todd Pletcher. He's paid his dues. The man knows what he's doing. Got some really good jockeys on the backs of his horses as well. Forte opening up at 3-1. Let's see, you got King's Barn at 12-1, which I like that horse as well. He's got another horse in there, I think, sitting at 10-1. And Practical Move is a horse, man, 10-1 that I like. So those would be some horses right there I keep my eyes on. But if I'm betting on one, Reincarnate's my horse I'm pulling for the Derby, baby. So he better bust out of the 7 gate and run like hell and win them damn roses and get me some money, man. So, looking at that trifecta, like I said, if I'm going Reincarnate to win, I'll take Reincarnate, Forte, and King's Barn to finish 1, 2, 3 in exact order. I think that's going to be pretty awesome. Those are really good horses. I think the starting gate for Forte at 15 and really looking at what kind of horses he has around him, probably going to make a break early to get down towards the, the pole on the inside. And run it from there and race those horses around him. But looking at it, I think he's got a good shot to run there. Again, King's Barn, Todd Pletcher, I didn't exactly catch the gate he's starting out of, but it's going to be another good horse to watch. They're going to run. Those horses are going to run, man. And there again, looking at that, an exacta bet on a 4-horse, I'll change it up. If I'm betting on those two and I'm putting Reincarnate first, I'm going to try to be smart. I will take, Forte. Forte coming in first, Practical Move second, Reincarnate third, and King's Barn fourth. So we'll see how that happens. Lawrence is going to put that out there, social media as well, man. So if you want to check that out and follow me or throw your Derby bets out there, man, that'd be awesome to see. It's a big deal to me. I love it. Like I said, maybe we'll see a triple crown winner again this year. Maybe we won't. We'll see what happens. But those are my horses for the Derby, man. So before we get into the next segment of the show, we're going to stop right here, pause for station identification on Coach's Corner Sports Network again. Man, I tell you what, this water is tasting really good. I am working up a sweat just running off my mouth. You would think I'm out here jogging, but I'm not. But happy Wednesday. Cheers, y'all. All right, man, we're getting right into that next segment, the money line, presented by Redfin Polarized Sunglasses, the best polarized sunglasses on the planet, man. Whether you got money on the line or a wall hanger, make sure you see it clearly with the best polarized sunglasses on the planet. Italian frames, Carl Zeiss lenses, man. I tell you what, the customer service is A1. #1 over at Redfin, man. They are awesome. Like I said, sunglasses made for the woods or the water or even date night, man. If you're trying to look stylish, these things are bad, maybe. I'm telling you right now. Like I said, Georgia owned and operated. Awesome company, man. And again, whether it's offshore or on the lake, do not be caught without your red fins, man. As always, live life fins up. Check out their website. You can always use code RubbinandGrubbin15 at checkout. Save you 15%, man. So getting into it, the money line, man. Winner, chicken dinner. I tell you what, me and Lawrence finally got back in the winner's circle, man, on the Cup Series side of it with Martin Truex Jr., baby. I tell you what, won us a little cabbage there. We're loading back up. So, you know, hey, we had MTJ for 100 units. We're back up to 1,225 on the year, which isn't bad. I mean, we were hurting there for a while. That was what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks there? Yeah, 5 weeks. 5 weeks without nothing, man. So we finally got back on it. If you were following me, I'm sorry, y'all, we didn't get any hits in that 5 week, 6 week span, but we're back on it, man, and I'm gonna continue to keep it rolling. So when we're looking at it right now, we're looking at these opening odds. Like I said, Larson opening odds 11-2. That's not bad, right? That's really not bad. So what's that? 5.5 to 1. That's not bad. So I'm definitely probably going to take Kyle Larson or William Byron, right? 550 plus 550, right? Not bad. Definitely going to be taking one of these guys, him or William Byron, opening up right around the same odds. If you're looking a little bit deeper right there in the field of Toyotas, which have a history of running pretty decent there at Kansas, the 11 and 20 are at 800 and 850. So that's a really good buy right there as well. I'm looking at those two guys. The 9, the 1, the 8, and the 12 have amazing value as well. The 23 and the 22 are both right around plus 18, you know, plus 1,800. That's amazing value, man, for guys that are really good. So definitely be taking a mix of those drivers in there to win. 6 has huge odds, 35, basically plus 3,500. That's huge odds right there for a guy that's been running really good the past few weeks. So we'll probably throw a worm out there and try to hook into that one as well. When you look at it, a guy that I'm looking at top 3 odds for sure, you look at a guy like Ty Gibbs and been running top 10. I think he finished 13 at Dover, but top 10 runs, having really fast race cars. This could be the place where he gets his first win, man. And I think they got him at 50 or 60 right now, plus 5,000 plus 5,000, plus 6,000. That's a huge hit. Whether you're betting to win or you're betting on the top 3, it's going to be good odds. So probably throw him in the mix as well. But make sure you are checking us out and following us on social media. Lawrence does a good job throwing that up there every Saturday and Sunday, depending on what we got, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. You can follow along. And as I always like to say, man, make sure you place your bets as well, right? Like, show me what you got going on. If I missed somebody, if I slipped on somebody, I'd love to hear about it, love to see it. So make sure you following us on Twitter at Rubbin and Grubbin. You can follow me at Atlanta Man 24_7, I'm pretty sure is how it is. So you can follow me as well, man. But at the end of the day, we're going to try to stay on this winning streak and keep it rolling for sure. So getting into the next segment, Hard Right Turn, sponsored by Lamar's Body Shop. But before we do, I got to give Lamar a big shout out there. Thank you, brother. But 35 plus years taking care of Savannah's auto collision needs, the best in the business. Right up here, 2301 Skidaway Road, man. It is an awesome place. Like I say, if you need some new fenders, new bumper, paint job, need an estimate for that insurance company after being in a wreck, make sure you go see Lamar's Body Shop. Again, 2301 Skidaway. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away from Coach's Corner. It's kind of a win-win. You can drop the car, catch a ride here, eat some lunch, go back and get it and your estimate. Again, that's 2301 Skidaway Road, Lamar's Body Shop. As I always like to say, why settle for par? Go see Lamar. Lamar, love you, brother. Hope to see you soon, man. So getting into the hard right turn, and this is basically feeding back into Ross Chastain and some other guys out there. Really, it's just the garage area of young drivers, right? It's kind of like a new era. Not all of them, but quite a few of them, right? So the lack of respect between drivers and no driver etiquette on the track. And I know everyone thinks that it's just about the Watermelon Man, but really it's not. Like I said, I mentioned a lot of drivers out there as well, but Ross is kind of always at the forefront of it just because of his antics on the racetrack, right? And I'm really going to give it to anybody and everybody out there that ever compares him to Dale Sr. All right, I'm not going to put up with that mess at all. You compare Ross Chastain to Dale Earnhardt Sr., you should have your NASCAR fan car pulled in a heartbeat. All right, Dale Sr. might have moved guys out of the way. He might have rattled guys' cages. He might have bumped guys. He might have done this and that. He's going to give you a chance to move out of the way. He's not going to dump. One, he's going to do it for a win. Two, he's not dumping lap cars at Dover 40 laps into a race just because they're too slow. All right, I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear I'm sorry. Like, I'm so tired of hearing I'm sorry by these younger guys and Ross Chastain of wrecking guys. Like I said, a very small underfunded team, side by side. Go back and look, side by side with the 3-car Austin Dillon racing for position. Those 2 cars are racing for position. Right, he's already a lap down. Ross Chastain's in 5th, 6th, whatever it is at the time. And I get it. He's racing Kyle Larson coming behind him, right? But if you were that fast, once you set and you clear that set of turns and you get onto that next back stretch or front stretch, whatever it may be, you're going to blow the doors off of both of them, man. So have some patience, have some etiquette, right? You just ruined a very small, underfunded team's day, tore that race car up, not to mention a guy that might have contended for the win. You tore that race car up just because you have lack of respect and lack of racing etiquette, right? It goes back to that unspoken driver's code. Ross Chastain evidently has not read the driver's code book, man. A lot of these young guys haven't. Just to see that really upset me on Sunday. We see it quite often there again out of Chastain, whether it's being for a position or making an aggressive move, which, like I said, I'm not going to down him for going for race bettering positions when the race is winding down. But we were, what, 40 laps, 50 laps, 60 laps into the first run, first stage? Dude, we still got 320, 340 laps left to run. And you literally bumped a guy out of the way, like, for no reason and took him out. And you can say, oh, I didn't mean to do it. BS, dude. You've driven a car long enough to know how close you are to the guy in front of you. Oh, he checked up. No, come on, dude. Go back and watch the end car. The man didn't check up at all. You were just that fast and you didn't know how to judge it, or you just wanted to move him out of the way. Let's be honest, right? But Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin have both given their opinions on it. And Kyle Busch said, look, I'm done. I've tried to talk to guys after the race about moves they've made or the way they race me or, you know, this and that. It used to be in the day when a guy was faster, you kind of get out of the way and let him by. And you see a lot of the older cats that grew up with some of the NASCAR legends, the Dale Earnhardt Seniors, the Jeff Gordons, the Dale Juniors, that all grew up racing that kind of way in Cup Series, right? Everybody's got to learn, right? But you kind of have an etiquette, an unspoken driver's code. It's respect. Kyle Busch said there's none of it. There's none of it in the garage area anymore. You try to talk to young guys and they blow you off like, well, I'm here to race and I've got stuff to do too. He's done talking. He said he's going to start putting them in the wall, pretty much, in a better term. But didn't he said it himself? There's no respect in the garage area for anybody any longer between drivers. And I'm going to say it's not all drivers' fault. It's not every driver's fault. It comes along with the lines of the new car, right? The next car, the next-gen car. It's hard to pass. It's really hard to pass, guys, with a lack of horsepower, how aero-sensitive they are. It's really hard to pass, so I get it. You got to take the positions when you can, right? But at the end of the day, you've also got to carry yourself with respect and respect other drivers out there and ownership. I mean, like I said, Brendan Poole driving for that team, that's a small, underfunded team, man. It cost them. It's not the same as going, oh, well, we're just going to build another race car when we get back at the shop. And I know he said, oh, I apologize, which he did when he got out of the car. But I'm sorry. It's kind of like excuses and assholes, right? Everybody's got one at some point in time, right? So I'll throw that in there. I'm just tired of hearing it, man. It's time for somebody to stand up to him. It's time for somebody, if they wreck him and take him out of the race, it's time for him to come back out and put him in the wall. Make sure he wrecks that race car. Make sure he's got to go to the garage area. Get out that race car. Fight him, man. Put your hands on him. Go push him around a little bit. Do that 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row. Make Justin Marks pay a little bit of money for those race cars. Maybe he'll continue to pay it. Maybe he won't. Maybe Ross will learn. Maybe he won't. Didn't look like he raced Denny Hamlin very hard when Hamlin got next to him there on Monday. Didn't look like he ran him very hard, did he? So it's just something that I like it. I think that drivers have to gain the respect of other drivers by the etiquette and by the way they race them on the track. And if a guy puts you in the wall 40 laps in, 50 laps into the race, put him in the wall. If you can come back out, get him. If not, wait till next week. Don't tell NASCAR, because we saw what happened to Hamlin. You speak and say, hey, I did it on purpose. Just go, man, I don't know what happened. Steering messed up. I hit the brake failed, whatever it may be. Come up with some kind of excuse. Do what you got to do. Handle your business. If he still doesn't listen, go whop him. Hey, he's called the Melon Man for a reason. He busts watermelon. Bust him in his watermelon a time or two, man. But that's that rant for me. I'm done with it. I'm tired of seeing it. It's not a good look for the sport. The next-gen fans want to see the drama. They think this is acceptable to be able to do because they grew up with guys that basically didn't have any respect when they raced. And you want to compare him to Kyle Busch? You can't. Kyle Busch he might have raced people hard. Ryan Newman raced people hard too. Ryan Newman raced a lot of guys. He was one of the hardest guys to pass. People will tell you that. He didn't give anything easy, whether it was for 20th or it was for first. He didn't give it easy. But he had the respect not to wreck you or to move you out of the way unless it was, hey, 4 or 5 laps later, gave you a bumper, a time or two, you see me coming through, I'm going to do it. I get that. I respect that. But he didn't do it in the right way, man. So that's going to wrap it up for the rubbing part. We are on to the grubbing, and we're going to see what kind of treat we got for you guys out here tonight. I'm getting ready to tear this thing up. Ooh, man. What is it, brat? Ooh, we got a brat dog, baby. Some chili cheese fries. Man, look at this dang sausage dog, dude. Green peppers and onions. It's like somebody speaking my love language right now. I got to throw some mustard on this bad boy. Sauerkraut or horseradish. I'd be all in it, man. Got some chili cheese fries. I'm going to tear this thing down, man. Like I said, anytime you come to Coach's, man, they have some amazing food. It does not matter what you order on that menu. Everything is awesome. And better yet, if you got a little twist you like to throw on it, a little flair, they'll make it happen for you as long as it's reasonable, man. So, like I say, make sure you come out to Coach's Corner. Check it out. Great food, great friends, great drinks. Great service. I tell you what, from top to bottom, from the ownership to the management to the bartenders to the waitress to the kitchen staff, awesome, awesome restaurant, man. Come out, get you some food, get you some cold beer, enjoy it, man. Got to give a big shout out to all the Coach's shows. Carl DeMasi, Sports Report, back at it. Coach, I'm glad you're recovering. Hope you're doing good. I got to get with you, man. I'm going to hit it up. I'd rather do it in person, but I will do it on the GoFundMe if I got to, from Stacy Bragg, Miss Bragg over there at Islands High School. You know, my mom was an educator here for 38 years in Chatham County. Probably some of those teachers you teach with, Coach, taught with my mom. So definitely going to make sure we do something special for her as well from the Rubbin' and Grubbin' crew. But make sure you're tuning in, catching out Coach DeMasi's live sports report right here every Saturday, 9 until in the Sound Garden. Just an amazing deal. Catching you back up on prep sports in the local Savannah area, surrounding areas. And I'm ready for the Who's on First Base, man. I'm ready for it. That Major League Baseball, keeping you up to date with them Braves and everything circulating in Major League. Hopefully, I'm going to jump on it this year at least a time or two. I've been keeping up with my Braves hard. We're killing it right now, still continuing to do good. And, Coach, I love you. Make sure you tune into that, man. Awesome, awesome show again every Saturday live right here at Coach's Sound Garden, 9 a.m., baby. So before I get out of here, got to give a big shout out to John Henderson and Adele Henderson again for allowing me to come up and do this, and everybody here at Coach's Corner, all the patrons that support the Checkered Flag for Charity. So everybody out there supporting Rubbin' and Grubbin', I just want to give a big thank you to you guys. Man, I tell you what, this is a crazy, crazy, crazy world we are living in at these times, and I always like to make sure, say a little something wild, man, but going to leave it alone this week as well. Got something special next week coming up. All I can say, man, is love everybody, man. Treat everybody with respect. Carry yourself with respect. And, you know, enjoy the time you have on this thing we have called life and earth, because I tell you, we live in a beautiful place. It's beautiful that we're able to wake up and do the things that we're able to do, especially with friends and family. Hold those moments true to your heart. Enjoy all of them, man. And like I say all the time, hug your loved ones. Make sure you give them a kiss and a hug. You know, tomorrow's not given. Wake up, take a deep breath, put a smile on your face, and go live that day, baby. So as always, hope everybody's safe. Have a great Wednesday night. Till next time, stay safe out there. And as always, wash your hands, y'all. It's coming. It's right there on your bag, Lawrence. It's coming right here, baby. Bam! There it is, y'all. Have a great Wednesday. Till next Wednesday, love y'all. All right.